Ton van het Noordende and Team GoodChain. Where are you guys? There we go. Welcome. So, Ton, you were also here most of the weekend. How was it?
Overwhelming.
Overwhelming, good answer.
Overload.
And why did you pick this team? I know you talked to many other teams this weekend.
Well, I think I tried to talk to every single team, but it's impossible to talk to 100. I think I got halfway. Did manage to read all the summaries and brief description, but I think the reason I picked this team is because essentially I've been there myself, right? At the moment, I turned to the dark side about 7 years ago. When I joined a venture firm, invested in 22 companies, and I realized something is fundamentally wrong with the system. The system is broken, and the system needs to be fixed. And we started talking about, foundational topics, as we did the entire weekend, about trust, identity, reputation. I think we're at an inflection point where we're going to see the harnessing of several technologies emerging at the same time, and it's going to impact the future of humanity. But I also wanted to break it down because I'm also an investor, right? And to break it down, I chose a really tangible project that is actually doing things already and that managed this weekend to create an end-to-end product solution, which I found really impressive. And as you can see, these guys they're exhausted, but they've put in all the passion and love they got. So I had to just pick these guys and get them on the stage and promote them. They're GoodChain, and essentially, to break it down to the bare minimum, they're doing product transparency and combining that with social impact. And I think it's extremely relevant, and it's something that hopefully fixes the world issue on consumer distrust in that sector. Actually, this is just one of the verticals they could tap into. That's the other thing I thought it was really impactful. So I just want to give the word to Ricardo and his team to briefly explain a little bit more, also maybe about the why and how.
And the what.
And the what.
So thanks for the warm introduction. So I think we had some slides as well that we can show.
Yeah, we got slides for you.
Overall, what we have been focusing on and the problem that we are trying to solve is we see that there's a fundamental level of distrust with respect to consumers to food brands because of all the scandals that have happened in the past. So there's some research showing that 50% of millennials distrust large food brands and 75% would love them to be more transparent. So there's a lot of initiatives going on around showing the consumers where their products are coming from, when they were produced, etc. But there's one link that is missing is how do you get a consumer to engage with a physical product? How do you trigger him to actually scan a product? And this is the area that we have been focusing on. And what we are trying to bring in is to combine that product transparency with social impact so that a consumer, rather than being invited to scan a code to learn more about the product, he's invited to scan a code because he can do good, because he gets points that he can then choose to donate to a good charitable cause or directly to a farmer that was involved in sourcing the product. And once he has been triggered and he has engaged with the product, then the brands can show him all the information on where this product came from to restore the lost trust that we had. So on the hackathon itself, we built a prototype that you're invited to check out at our table afterwards, which was an application to scan for good with a chicken. So when you scan this chicken, we actually had an actual chicken there with a code on it, you get points that you can either donate to a project by World Vision in Timor-Leste that gets one family, one chicken that can help them to produce eggs, or you can donate it to the farmer that was involved in sourcing that product. And after you scan the code, you can also learn the entire history about when was the egg created, when was it handed over to the fattening farm, when was the chicken born, when did it reach the retail store, what certifications were involved, etc., etc. So the potential of that solution is to fundamentally transform the way food brands do business by enabling them to engage with their consumers and get all these insights on who is scanning my products, who are those people, something that brands are willing to pay for, and at the same time enable them to do good and to positively impact society.
Yeah, maybe just to add on that, because I think you already had like a partnership or with the food brand at the moment, but I think it's really good to maybe explain briefly why it's actually applicable to multiple sectors and verticals. There's much more corporates in the room that might be interested in tapping into that potential.
Yeah, what we see is that this problem doesn't only exist in the food and beverage space. That's one area where we have been focusing on. But what we also experienced as a company is also in the fashion sector or textile industry, there are similar problems of transparency and showing that your clothes were not manufactured using child labor, etc. So there are opportunities in other verticals as well, which can benefit from such a system. Another example we actually had was pharma. Pharma companies also have experienced reputational damage in the past, and they're looking for ways to show the consumers that the pharmaceuticals they buy are real, and at the same time have an opportunity to have a touch point with the customer to improve their image by doing something good.
And maybe just add one more thing, because I think the final reason I picked you is that you were able to answer a question that is probably on the audience mind as well. Is like, supply chain is incredibly tough. How do you actually incentivize consumers and brands to actually open up the database and show you the origination of the products? Because that's a tough question.
Yeah. So I think for brands, there is one very interesting reason to participate in that system, because if we can get consumers to engage with you, they get insights, right? There's a clear business case behind that, because brands today are willing to pay to know who are the people who are engaging and scanning their products, in what region are they, when are they scanning, what are consumers interested. And by making this information available to consumers, also the parties further down the supply chain can benefit, because consumers see, all right, this chicken was really produced without antibiotics, or it is coming from a sustainable farm, which will also help the parties further down the supply chain to sell more chicken, which at the end of the day is good for everybody in the supply chain, which incentivizes these parties to participate.
So I love the fact that you have potentially massive, broad, deep scope, but you chose to focus. That's very important for a hackathon. And what did they choose to focus on? Solving the chicken and egg problem. Finally! Ladies and gentlemen, Ton van het Noordende and GoodChain. Thank you very much.